Hi, I'm Dr. Harry Schick. I'm here with Mia today, who is going to join me so that we can show you one of the aspects of the Laurel program. You may have remembered from an earlier video that there are four parts to the Laurel program. The first part has to do with the connection between the brain and the body. And in there I mentioned something called primitive reflexes. So primitive reflexes are those reflexes which happen from birth until around 9 months of age. And they need to be subdued at that point so the person can progress further. So I'm going to show you with Mia how I test for those. Okay, so Mia, I want you to close your eyes for a minute. I count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. Now tilt your head back. I'm going to count to 5 again. Close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hands at your side for a second, sweetie. Good. Now put your head all the way down. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're looking there at her balance in what's called the vestibular system. Now she's going to put her hands straight out like this and hold them. Oh, beautiful nails. Hold your arms straight out. Okay? And we turn her head to the right. And we hold it here for a little bit. This has to do with what's called tonic neck reflexes. And this is what happens as a child develops from going from lying to crawling to standing and moving. These are reflexes that are involved. Now hold your arms like that. And then we have the startle reflex, which she had no startle reflex, but sometimes I do that with somebody and that child will jump. Now, you know what a dog is? Ah, excellent. So I need you to go on all fours like a dog, on your hands in. If you kneel down like that. Good, excellent. Now I'm going to have you bring your bottom up a little bit. And now I'm checking a reflex here which has to do with her movement. Again, these are all reflexes that help her get from crawling stage up to the standing stage. Now put your head all the way down, and I'm looking to see what happens with her body when she does this. Now bring your head all the way up and all the way down again. Now sometimes when a child does that, when they put their head down, their whole body kind of collapses. Bend your elbows a little bit, like they'll go down to the floor like that. She doesn't have that because we've been together a long time, but that's one of the things that we look for to see. Okay, now come stand up again. Now, one of the reflexes you might be familiar with is called the Palmer reflex, where hold your hand up like this. So if I put my finger in her hand, you know how you do that with a baby, they'll grasp your hand. So she's not doing that, but sometimes we put a hand, even kids 13, 14 years old, even older, will close their hand over because they still have that reflex which wasn't subdued. And then there's the rooting reflex when we do this. And you know, if you do this with a young baby, when you do that, they'll turn their head towards you with the idea of being fed. So that's the testing of the primitive reflexes. Now, what if we find some that are positive? There's work we do here, and then there's very simple exercises for you to do at home, which help to subdue them. Think of this. Think about you're trying to build a structure, and you have a basement which is somewhat crumbled, and then you try to build the first floor on top of that. You're not going to do a very good job, and it's going to collapse. The same thing if a child doesn't have their primitive reflexes set, and then you expect them to start being coordinated and expect them to learn, expect them to read. If those reflexes haven't been checked and handled, they can move on in life. I'll tell you a story. I had a gentleman who was a court stenographer, which is something that seems very, very difficult to me to be. And but he had tremendous ADHD. He was in his 40s, I think. And he had 3 or 4 of these reflexes. So I worked with him as an adult, and they got better. And he told me how much easier it was for him to do his stenography work at that point because he was bright and he had been compensating. And we see this with a lot of kids. Parents say, my kids don't have any learning problems, they're just hyperactive. But they're only in 3rd or 4th grade. What happens when they get to 7th grade, 8th grade? What happens when they go to college? If things aren't set right, eventually at some point the work becomes too hard, and that's when they fail. So that has to do with primitive reflexes. The other thing I had mentioned earlier was that we look at left and right side of the brain to see how they're doing compared to one another. So how do we test that? We do things like looking at eye movement. Can you turn to me for a second? So I want you to follow my finger with your eyes. And what I'm watching for is to see if the eyes move smoothly and easily. If they don't, we have special glasses where we actually watch them on a screen, that her eyes are not only very pretty, but are moving well. And then we have you put your hands out like this, and then we have them move as fast as they can this way. Faster, 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 faster. So what will happen sometimes, we'll see a child, one hand moves like this, and the other one is kind of going like that. So that shows us about one side of the brain versus the other. We have them walk on balance beams, looking for coordination. Again, I have some people say, don't worry, my child is great at sports, he's totally coordinated, you don't have to check that. But when we isolate it to a specific activity, he may be good at sports, but he can't do X or Y, and that has to get fixed also. So this is an example of some of the things we test when we're looking for balancing the brain and the body, and the first step of the Laurel method. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. Harry Schick. We look forward to seeing you in our office with your child, or if you're an adult with ADHD, with yourself, so we can get spectacular results for you. Thank you.